Hey everyone, this is your captain speaking, and I have a major portal update for you. I've been studying the star maps, and I've been learning a lot about this particular portal that we're in, and I want to share with you all about it. But let me first say, for anyone that might be new to my channel, my name is Matthew Stelzner, and I would love it if you would join me here and explore more astrology and tarot, and my podcast and a whole range of things are here. And so if you end up liking this video, I'd be super grateful if you hit the like button, and I'd love for you to subscribe. And what would be super great is if you hit the notifications bell after subscribing, because then you'll be notified when I release a new video, which I think there's going to be a couple more in the relatively near future. And so let me now tell you about what I've been learning about this dance party portal. That's what I was calling the portal. Well, now we're moving into something more. I'm calling it the harmonic convergence super portal of 2019. Harmonic convergence super portal of 2019. That's what I've come up with for now. And what I've been doing, I was curious, how often does one of these dance party portals open? And it turns out it's about every 6.5 years. I had no idea how often there'd be a Sun, Venus, Mars triple conjunction where they're all just perfectly in alignment with the Earth, straight shot across the solar system. How often does that happen? I wasn't sure. What I had to do was to look when 2 cycles of time overlapped to see how often that happens. And so I was looking at how often does Venus conjunct Mars and how often does the Sun conjunct Mars. And in both cases, it's about every 2 years. It can be a little more, a little less, depending on like the cycle of Venus and where it's at. But generally it's about 2, maybe a little bit more than 2 years. And the thing is, those 2 cycles have to overlap. They have to be in the same place at the same time, and everything's moving. It's not guaranteed it's going to happen every time. Not at all. It turns out it happens about every 3 cycles, about every 6.5 years. It can happen, and often does happen, but it doesn't all the time. It can go more than that, like 12 years or more. But on average, about every 6.5 years. And so that was really interesting for me to kind of anchor and to kind of recognize this dance party portal we've been in is kind of rare. It doesn't happen that often. 7 years is a long time. 6.5 years is a long time. And so, but now we're moving into something more. When I recorded the last video, we were at the full moon, and so there was a full moon activation of the Sun, Venus, Mars triple conjunction. So we had 4 planetary bodies all in alignment with the Earth. Super awesome. Well, now the new moon is coming, and so it's going to be a quadruple conjunction. Moon right next to the Sun, that's a new moon, with Venus right next to the Sun and Mars right next to the Sun. Doesn't happen all the time, not at all. And so how rare is that to have 4 planets all within, in this case, 9 degrees or so? That's very close, like 4 degrees on either side of the Sun. That's what's happening. And the other thing that's happening is Mercury has now moved into the alignment. And so what we're talking about is all of the inner planets, we call them, the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, Venus, and Mars. Did I say Mercury? Yes. It's 5 planets that we can see from the Earth, or that are directly across from us. The Moon, of course, is closest. And then the Sun. So the Moon is right in front of the Sun, basically. And its light is obscured because the Sun is doing its thing. And then on the other side of the Sun is Mercury. Mercury's coming in there. And Venus and Mars. So it goes Earth, then the moon, then the sun, then Mercury, then Venus, then Mars. That's all of the inner, like, rocky, well, I guess, is Venus rocky? I think it is at the core. It's all of the inner planets, all in an alignment. And so I became curious. I knew this was coming. I talked about it in the astrology part where I went into detail the second half of the last video, which I encourage you to watch if you haven't seen it, because this will make more sense. There's a link in the box below. How often does this happen? That all of the inner planets would be perfectly in alignment, in conjunctions with the sun. Well, I did the research, and you know how often it's happened since 1910? 4 times since 1910. There was the first time, 1968, June 24th and 25th, they were all within 10 degrees. They're all going to be within 9 degrees for us. And then the next one after 1968 was August 23rd and 24th of 1987. They were all within 4 degrees that time, and it was actually called the harmonic convergence. It kind of overlapped with another system, the Mayan system. They were both really close. An important thing happening in the Mayan calendar and this very rare planetary alignment. Harmonic convergence, major moment, all within 4 degrees. And what was even more special, it was in a grand trine with Jupiter and Neptune. Wow, that's potent. The one after that was 1994. This is number 3. 1994, January 11th and 12th, they were all within 9 degrees, but they were also with Uranus and Neptune. There was a rare Uranus-Neptune conjunction in the 90s, once in 160 years or so. So that very rare conjunction happened to line up with all of the inner planets. Wow. I would call that a cosmic super portal. I had to come up with a name for that. So I would encourage you to be reflecting on these moments. Like, what was happening for you in 1987, in August of 1987? It's very worth reflecting. That was a major portal that we all went through. Whether we knew it or not, we went through it. For me, when I think about that, there was some pretty major stuff that was happening. It was a key turning point that summer for me of 1987. For me, it was between my junior and senior years of high school. And when I think about that time, I do think of it as a major turning point. And that's what I think a super portal can be. That's any time a lot of planets come together in a conjunction, that's a major portal. This one's especially awesome because it's all the inner planets in a perfect row. Wow. And so reflecting on 1987, but then what was happening for you in January of 1994? That was super major for me. That was the first month that I practiced tarot. I bought my first tarot deck in January of 1994, nearly 26 years ago. It was also when I began, well, it was the first time I saw my natal chart within a month of that time. I had my first reading. My first professional astrology reading was in, I believe, January or February of 1994. So, wow, huge portal moment. Huge new timelines opened for me in that moment. Of course, the fact that the Uranus-Neptune conjunction was in there makes more sense of why it was such a magic spiritual moment. Not that a super portal isn't that inherently, but the Uranus-Neptune conjunction is super magic, and it has to do with like the awakening of new visions and new spiritual awareness. So it was definitely that for me. So that's a major one. The most recent one before now was July 1st and 2nd, 2000, the year 2000. And these are just, when I use it's just a couple of days. It's not like it was just a couple of days. That's just when the new moon happened. But one of these alignments is like, it's just like a major wave that just takes you. It carries you whether you're aware of it or not. If you are aware of it, it carries you with the greater likelihood of grace and more depth and more meaning, of course, more awareness and mindfulness, more participation. But nevertheless, even if you're not aware of it, it's a major consciousness wave. That's how I would see it. Major time wave, major huge portal in terms of the cycles of time. Because what's happening when you get conjunctions like the new moon, just that is a conjunction of the sun and the moon. That's the beginning of a lunar cycle of time, a 28-day cycle of time. Happens every month. And then you have other cycles of time. Astrologers will often keep track of a whole range of different cycles of time. I am very focused on 45 cycles of time that involve all of the kind of classic planets, including Pluto. We still consider it a planet. One of the really important, how do I want to say it? Pluto just has such a grasp on our imagination, our collective imagination. Whether it's been downgraded or not, it has power in our psyche, especially for those of us who've been in a deep, intimate relationship with it for a long period, as I have and many others have. And so if you take each of the planets and combine them with each other, so like the sun with Mars, the sun with Venus, the sun with Pluto, the sun with Uranus, the sun with Neptune, and then it's like Venus with Pluto, Venus with Uranus. There's 45 of those. There's 45 major cycles of time that I'm keeping track of, and many other astrologers are. And so this super portal happens to be the beginning of 10 cycles of time. The moon with the sun, the moon with Mercury, the moon with Venus, the moon with Mars, and then it's the sun with Mercury, the sun with Venus, the sun with Mars, and then it is Mercury with Venus and Mercury with Mars, and then it's Venus with Mars. That's 10, I hope. I'm pretty sure. And so what's so awesome about these larger multi-planet conjunctions is they have this power of new beginnings. New beginnings. I feel these conjunctions are moments of integration and visioning. We integrate the whole previous cycle of time, and then we envision the possibilities of the whole next cycle of time. It's a powerful moment. It's a new moon moment. The new moon is a conjunction. There are new moon phases for all of these planetary cycles of time. All 45 of them have a new moon moment. And so I don't know if I've named exactly when this our current one is about to happen. I am realizing this kind of late. I'm a little slow to totally understand what's happening in a portal. I've never been in one like this before. And so I'm figuring it out, and we've only got 2 or 3 days. If you happen to see this after the dates I'm about to say, don't worry about it. It's just going to keep carrying on for the whole next month for sure, from this new moon to the next new moon. We're talking about major new beginnings energy, a major moment of opening to new possibilities. And so ours is happening. Let me make sure I've got the dates right. I'm saying basically August 29th and 30th. I'm figuring this all out, California time. And so I see it as coming in like Thursday, the 29th in the morning especially. But even actually the previous midnight is really how I'm thinking about starting to ritualize this. So I'm talking about Wednesday evening as the day turns. So midnight Thursday, 12:01 a.m. Thursday. That's kind of when I'm thinking about it. And I'm going to suggest a midnight ritual, as well as a sunrise ritual, and a sunset ritual, and a midday ritual, noontime ritual. Not that you have to do all of them, but I'm encouraging you to think about which one you're drawn to, or which ones. And so starting midnight going into Thursday, and then really strong starting to come in sunrise Thursday the 29th, and then getting even stronger throughout the day and getting more exact close to midnight the next night. So we're talking about Thursday going into Friday here in California time. If you're more like in Australia or Japan, this is different. And so you're going to have to do your calculations. It's basically like 12 hours or more later. So maybe like more like the 30th and the 31st for people far away from California. And so this is when the new moon starts to be exact during this range of time. It continues throughout the whole day, the 30th, all of Friday, Friday midnight into Saturday, and definitely Saturday morning for sure. And I think it's just going to be such a potent new moon wave that it's going to go right through Saturday night. So I'm giving this like a 3-day time frame. Thursday, Friday, Saturday here in California. I'm recording this Monday. He'll go out Tuesday, I hope. So just a couple days to get it together and spread the news about this harmonic convergence super portal. And so what does it mean? What does it mean? It's the beginning of 10 cycles of time that each have their own meaning and are all worthy of reflection. And I'm not going to be able to go through the meanings of all of them right here. I may touch on a couple. I'm trying to keep this, keeping track of the time. I'm going to try to just go for another 5 or 10 minutes actually, maximum. And then what I'm going to do is part 2 will be a tarot spread where I use the cards to kind of guide what I talk about, because we could talk about a whole lot of different things for these 10 different cycles of time. And the fact of the matter is there's another cycle of time that's beginning. And this is the Saturn Pluto cycle of time. We've been in this massive Saturn Pluto conjunction, which the last time we had one was like 1981 to 84, especially 82 and 83. That's 36 years ago? 35, 34 years ago? Long time. So we're beginning a major new cycle of time there. And this is a super portal we haven't seen the likes of since the year 2000, 19 years there. So these are all happening at the same time. And to try to be mindful of all 11 conjunctions, all 11 new beginnings, where you're trying to integrate the whole previous cycle and then envision the whole next cycle. Each one of these is worthy of deep reflection. And I will continue to talk about this as we go through this portal, because there's even more nuances. What makes this even more awesome is all of these conjunctions, except for the Saturn-Pluto one, are in what's called a trine to the planet Uranus. Uranus electrifies things. A trine is like flowing and supportive. And so Uranus is electrifying and awakening and stimulating in a very flowing, harmonious way that's kind of like a gift. All of those conjunctions. And there's a whole other thing. They're all moving into opposition to Neptune. And Neptune squared Jupiter. And so, wow, things are really popping. And so the astrologers out there may be following this. If you don't have a lot of understanding of the meanings of the different planets, I wouldn't worry about it. I think the important thing is just to take the whole thing that I'm saying into your imagination and see where you go, especially just with this idea of it being a super portal of possibilities for new beginnings. And where I feel myself going right now, given that one of these cycles of time is the Saturn Pluto, and it has such a power and such a kind of intensity and gravity and seriousness, Saturn Pluto together has everything to do with facing the shadow, facing our individual shadows, facing collective shadow, as we all are doing on planet Earth right now. We're all facing our shadow. Saturn Pluto also seems to have something to do with threats to nature, even like the death of nature. Saturn can be endings and death and pain, and Pluto has so much to do with nature, with the powers and forces of nature, the expressions of nature, Mother Earth's expressions. And so it can be threats to nature, but then a very strong impulse to protect nature. And so I'm very aware that as I record this, these huge fires are happening in the rainforests of Brazil. And the sense that we're all on the planet aware of this, or at least many of us are, and we're feeling the gravity of the situation, the heaviness of it, the way it mirrors back to us a huge shadow of, I think, especially corporate greed and the impulse towards power and control over nature, exploitation of nature. But then it just draws forth from the collective this incredible impulse to protect nature, to protect the amazing resources and gifts of our mother. And so I'm aware that that is behind all of this. And during none of these other super portals, I'm pretty sure, let me just double check, was there also a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. I think there was a square in the 1994 one. It was in the mix to some degree, but not this incredibly powerful and rare conjunction. And so it just adds something to the power of this moment. It takes it down and makes it more serious, deeper. And so I feel like there's this opportunity for new beginnings for the whole Earth, for a moment of integration of what's happening, what's been happening over these cycles of time, and a sense of the rarity of this moment where all of the inner planets, which I think of them as our family, whereas the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they're just more epic. They're bigger energies, more collective in scale. The Earth, the Moon, the Sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, they're all our friends. They're all our family. And we're all dancing together. And in this moment of the dance, we're all in alignment. We're all in alignment. The Earth is out here at the end. Last time I talked, the Moon was all the way at the end of the conga line. Now the dance is with the Earth at the end, or the front, however you want to think about it. It's like, I was thinking earlier of the Grateful Dead line, I wish I wore a headlight on a northbound train. Kind of feels like that's what the Earth is now. The headlight on a northbound train. And then behind the Earth, the Moon has our back. Our mother has our back. The nurturing force of the universe has our back. And behind the Moon is the sun, shining her warmth, giving the gift of her light and how she brings life from our mother. But then directly behind that is Mercury and Venus and Mars. They're all dancing together on the other side of the sun. And we're kind of far away. We're the farthest away we can be from Mercury and Venus and Mars. They're all the way over there. They're perfectly in alignment, but they're far away. They're really close to each other. They're like, wow, it's so awesome to be close to Mercury, saying, so awesome to be so close to Venus and so close to Mars. And Venus is like, wow, I only get to see Mars every couple of years. they're really enjoying their end of the conga line. And there's a way in which it's kind of lonely out here for the Earth. You know, we're so far away from those other planets. And it's like we're here and we have to make some choices at the beginning of these incredible, powerful, and rare cycles of time. Coming together is what's so rare. And so I'm thinking of us here on the Earth, and I want to encourage us to consider some rituals to mark this moment, to reflect on it, to set intentions with it, to have a vision for what's possible, and then to set intentions. How are you going to move into these new cycles of time? How are you going to move into this kind of overarching portal of new possibilities? And so I want to first of all suggest, if at all possible, at midnight on one of those 3 nights, midnight Wednesday going to Thursday, midnight Thursday going into Friday, and midnight Friday going into Saturday especially, all California time, somewhere where you feel safe, ideally in nature, maybe with a friend, lay on your back at midnight and imagine directly below you, straight through the Earth. If you followed pretty much a straight line, you'd run into the moon, literally having your back. And then directly behind the moon, it's nighttime, right? You're looking out at a new moon sky, just beautiful, clear sky. Hopefully the weather will be good. And imagining further that directly behind the sun is Mercury, directly behind Mercury is Venus, and directly behind Venus is Mars. And it's like we're all in this amazing alignment, and Earth is at the front of it all, looking out into the emptiness of space. And remember, Neptune's out there, so it's not totally void beyond the Earth, of course, but it's actually the case that directly past the Earth, all the way out past Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, is Neptune. And we'll talk more about this and what's possible to bring Neptune into the reflection as we go into the part 2. But you're on your back, you're looking straight up, and you're imagining the possibilities. Imagining the possibilities of moving forward in your life in new ways. With the moon, it's like, how are you going to care for yourself in new ways? How are you going to care for yourself? How are you going to care for the Earth in new ways? With the sun, it's like, how are you going to let yourself shine in new ways? How are you going to let yourself be more authentic as you move forward in your life? The sun has to do with our authentic sense of self. With Mercury, it's like, how are you going to talk with yourself? Mercury's communication. How are you going to communicate with yourself? How are you going to communicate with others in more loving and caring ways? And how are you going to talk to the Earth? How are you going to express your love and care for her? With Venus, it's like, how are you going to love yourself more? How are you going to love the Earth more? How are you going to feel the love of the Earth more and treat it with preciousness? And with Mars, it's like, Mars is all the way over, as far away as you can get in direct line from here. And Mars is at the end, at the far back, with their fire, with their heat, with their action and warrior energies. It's like, how are you going to fight for yourself? How are you going to courageously move forth into the challenges of your life? And how are we all going to move forward with the challenges of this incredibly powerful moment of time? Reflecting on all of this as you look out into the mysteries of the sky, knowing that Neptune is way out there. Neptune, the planet of dreams and visions and spiritual healing. How are you going to let yourself be called towards the Neptunian visions of what's possible for your life? And maybe take some tarot cards, maybe take some ritual objects, some bells. If you're with your friends, I would say definitely silence for a good portion of the ritual. The new moon time and the new moon moment of all the cycles is a kind of quieter moment. It's a quieter, reflective moment. And so maybe some gentle bells. And yeah, more meditation. Maybe bring a journal. See what comes to you. See what channels through you as you look to the sky, knowing the power of this moment. And then, that's midnight. You could do an awesome ritual at sunrise. At sunrise, when you look towards the sun, you're also looking right towards the moon, towards Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And I would say pray to them all. Look them in the eye and pray to them. Ask them for support in your life. Feel how they're family and how they represent such important things. Venus is love and Mercury is thoughts and how you think about things. And Mars is the warrior, and yeah, the moon is our mother. Praying to these energies to be supported and guided through this Saturn Pluto powerful, powerful moment in history. And at noon, I'd say get on your back again and look right up towards the sun and feel the light all shining upon you. Feel that light just warming you and feel its awesomeness. Maybe wear sunscreen, depending on where you are. And yeah, feel the planets, feel the sun all kind of extending themselves down towards you. And directly through the earth, imagine Neptune has your back. Neptune, the divine, the angels, the spiritual sources of support. Feel Neptune has your back directly behind you through the earth. And then at sunset, you're bowing to all of the planets, thanking them for another day of their light, of their shining energy, of their different gifts, their different ways of being friends to you. And then you just repeat, or you choose one of these, or you try to do 2 or 3 of them over the 3 days that I mentioned. And so I think that's all I'm going to say for this first video. I went a little longer than I expected, 33 minutes, not so bad. Yes, I think that's all I'm going to say for this video. I send blessings to each of you. I hope you have an awesome super portal experience. I hope you have an awesome harmonic convergence super portal experience. And it's just going to carry, it's an amazing wave. There's sets of waves coming. And this is just the first, well, we've been in one for a while, but this is the big wave coming in. And we're going to ride it for a while. I'm going to be back with updates, and I'm going to do a tarot spread right here, right now, and it's going to be a separate video that'll come out soon. So blessings to you all. I'm sending love to you all. I send love to the earth. I send love to our family of the solar system. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, sharing, and hit the notifications bell